Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mission Employable Podcast. My name is Ryan West. I am your host. We have a great show for you today. We're in studio. The cameras are going. I want to thank the guests for that. That's always a big deal to us because sometimes it can be a little nerve-wracking. So thank you for doing that for us, Gabby. Today's show is all about the Project Iowa program. We're going to revisit it. We actually had Chris Noth on, I think last summer, I think about a year ago, which is hard to believe. And Project Iowa was established in 2011 to address the skilled workforce gap that was negatively affected both individuals and businesses in Central Iowa. And you're doing the same things we are. Really, we're trying to connect job seekers with employers who are doing different things. Joining me on the microphone to talk all things Project Iowa, or get into a little bit more of the weeds, is Gabby Palacios, who is the program manager. Gabby, thank you for making time. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to the Mission Employable Podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, and again, thank you for being willing to come on camera. And again, folks, for everybody watching on YouTube, you can also download this episode, which we highly encourage. So let's jump into this. You've been here now 4 years, right? So you're going to have a good background on what's going on. You survived through the pandemic, if you will. So I'm always interested to talk to people about these programs who were there before the pandemic and then through it, because it's just altered so many things.
Yeah.
And so that I think that'll be part of how we go through this. So let's kick it off. High level overview, of what your role is at Project Iowa. And of course, you've been there for 4 years. Just give us the rundown of what your day-to-day is and why you're so passionate about it.
Yes, thank you. So I started at Project Iowa 4 years ago after I was an intern there.
Yep.
So I interned and
worked perfectly.
Yes,
yep.
Luckily they liked me enough to stick around. And as a program manager, what I do high level is development, implementation, evaluating our programs, and how to grow them.
For sure.
So not only are we looking at this at a high level, but also seeing what's been working, what are workforce trends, listening not only to job seekers and their needs, but also paying attention to what employers need and how we can be that bridge in between.
Yeah, and we're going to jump into this a little bit down the road, but I do want to ask you, employers, from your point of view, different mindset now than pre-pandemic, or what do you think? How has it changed or altered, because it's so just different in the workforce world?
Yes, absolutely. And Project Iowa in a whole, our foundation, we are very holistic.
Yep.
As an organization, we truly believe in investing in the individuals.
Right.
And starting from there. And I think with the pandemic, a lot of people realized how important their self-care, their passions, what they want to do in life really came to the surface.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of people rethought, what does work look like for me?
Yeah.
And employers had to rethink, what does a workplace look like for us?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know if we've talked about that enough, in that it's a two-way street. It really has. And job seekers changing their thoughts forced employers to make changes. And I think it's starting to even out a little bit, but I don't think we'll really know for the next year on that. The whole remote working and all of that jazz that's involved with it. So, okay, let me kind of get into the weeds of this, and then we can continue from there. What makes you guys different, Project Iowa, different from supporting a workforce and training program from others? I mean, what do you guys really thrive on, or in your opinion thrive on, to really make a change here in the Central Iowa area?
I believe our focus on personal growth. So not only is someone just walking in, hey, take a look at my resume, help me with these skills.
Right. We
truly believe that people need community.
Yeah.
So the way we structure our programs gets at building a community, whether that's virtual or in person.
Sure.
And how people's worth and value plays into how they can contribute to society.
Yeah. And do you think that that community aspect was always there? And maybe it's more enhanced since the pandemic. I don't mean to keep going back to the pandemic, but because I've heard more and more people bring up the whole community thing, just in recent podcast episodes that we've released, actually.
Yeah.
I guess I've talked about how important it is to the community, especially for those folks who grow up and maybe are just seeking that community. That's just part of how we should hire now, don't you think?
Yeah. I think Pre-pandemic, it looked a little bit different. I think we typically saw people seeking community because they couldn't find work.
Right.
Job seeking can be very isolating.
Sure.
And when you're constantly not getting calls back, perhaps you're experiencing some barriers that are keeping you from these jobs. It's nice to be around others who are feeling the same way.
Yeah, for sure.
And finding a support that, okay, this is a safe place. I can make some mistakes. I can learn, grow, and there's other people on this journey with me.
So to that point, then, do you think that employers, and maybe there's, well, actually I know there are, but do you think that more employers could invest in really going after pockets of talent that are out there that they haven't thought about before and really get a leg up by hiring somebody to help be that liaison between those? Let me give you an example. We hear about this all the time with, like, just use manufacturing as an example. They will, go after, they have a lot of our manufacturing plants work with folks in communities who don't speak English very well, but they'll have a navigator that a manufacturing plant will bring it on, and that person then can get 25 people to come and apply because those people feel comfortable because of that one person.
Right.
Do you think more employers could do that, or do you think that's something they need to explore?
Absolutely. I think that's the first step, right? So it's getting the people there. And with your example about a navigator, someone who speaks my language, who understands me culturally.
Exactly.
And how can the company further embrace that in perhaps their policies, the way they get the staff to intermingle with each other?
Right.
How can everyone feel a part and feel valued? Because that's what keeps them there. Retention.
It sounds so, such a simple concept. People wanted to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And it just kind of always doesn't feel that way, right? And so, interesting. Okay, I wanted your thoughts here because that kind of leads into this next question. I know you had shot over some things you want to talk about, and that's the next one really here is talk to us about your Cultivating Careers, commonly referred to as the CC program, I believe. And what that all means, and we were talking before. I want to get your concept or your take when you're done with that. Talking about how you guys are trying to expand more into registered apprenticeship as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Long-winded question, which I know I'm notorious for, but please.
Well, my name's Gabby, so I can talk. I can sit here and talk all day.
Good.
Cultivating Careers is our training program for job seekers, for adults. It's completely free. And it is connecting individuals to meaningful, stable employment.
Yep.
And so that looks different for a lot of people. And the way we go about that is to do both like classroom work and one-on-one work with a staff member.
For sure.
Who is basically your career coach who's helping you along this journey. So in the classes, we have both personal and professional development classes. So we incorporate really learning about your passions, what you want to do. We tap into wellness because we know that stress is the biggest lead to why people go to the doctor. And job, work, life has been very stressful. And how to manage stress on and off the job. Digital skills. So how can you stay relevant in those skill sets, and helping people with resumes, interviewing, networking. So taking a really holistic approach in the classroom, so you're with the same people all week. And then
so hold on, because that brings up a good point. So you come in there, most of your candidates come in there. Are they out of work or are they looking for a change?
It can be. It's a huge spectrum.
Okay.
So the program is for people, perhaps they've been out of work, they've been in work for a long time, and they want to switch to a completely different industry path. They want to make more money, whatever kind of brings people in.
Everything.
It can be everything. Also just people with different levels of experience, education. They sign up for a time slot. And we offer morning, evening, afternoon. We have a mix of virtual and in person. So depending on, where people are located and what works for them. And they take these classes for 8 weeks at that class time. and are working with their peers. They have different facilitators who are experts in their own field. And then they do the one-on-one work with a staff member as well.
Gotcha.
So it's a lot of hands-on work. And it's transformational.
For sure.
So people really discovering like, hey, I can ask for a job that makes this much money, and I can go after these things that maybe I was too afraid to do.
For sure. Yeah. Sometimes I think a lot of it's just confidence too.
Yes.
Do you believe in that? I do too. I think that's really key. So you guys, then that's kind of where we're going to end at. We'll get to this in a little bit about the employer side, but when those folks come in, then, I was asking you before, I'm interested when something you mentioned before we hit record about, I asked if you guys were expanded into registered apprenticeship, or do you guys try to get people connected? And you you guys are trying to do more with that. But you said that welding and CNA have just become so saturated. And what's your take on that? Are you just hearing that from employers, or that's what so many people want to do?
When Project Iowa started, this model was training in those certificates, so in those trades.
Sure.
And then we do our classroom work, so the personal professional development, and then placing them in those jobs.
Gotcha.
And we moved away from that, and what we've been doing for quite a while is the more generalized approach, where people are coming in, kind of discovering where they want to go. We're placing them with employers, with those relationships we have. And now what we're really circling back to is people wanting to go into those trades, or getting their foot into healthcare, whether it's CNA or something else.
Sure.
And what we want to target with that is the wraparound support. I think for a lot of people, it's not just about, can I go to school or can I go through this training program?
Right.
But how do I do that when I'm juggling so many other things?
For sure.
Life?
Yep.
And I think what makes us different in that way is that we offer those wraparound supports, the ways to stay connected, help people through tough times, keep them accountable.
Yeah.
While they might be going through something that's a more specific training track.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. Again, that's the Cultivating Careers program, and you can find out more about all this. I should plug you guys' website, projectiowa spelled out .org. That's projectiowa.org. Okay, let's talk about the employer side. And so, one of the things we're trying to do here at Iowa Workforce Development, or we are doing, is we're kind of revamping how we communicate with employers as well, and there's so many programs out there. As we do a lot, there's a lot of overlap between us and 100 or 1,000 other programs in Iowa. Can you share with us how you guys work with employers to retrain the staff they have? I saw that as well, and you had brought that up. But also, how do you get connected with them? Is it cold calling? How does that whole process work? It was a long-winded question again, sorry. So, but I am curious about that, because that's a huge piece as we try to help these employers. They just don't have a ton of time with all this stuff as well.
Yeah, a couple ways. So we are, as an organization, we are relationship-based. Yeah. So employers that we've worked with and built connections with 10 years ago, are still ones that we stay in contact with.
It's weird how that works.
Right. And also, as we place individuals in different types of jobs or industries, those are new connections for us as well.
Sure.
Because, we hear the stories of, hey, I've been here for this long, I got a promotion, or I am doing this now, and it's a way for us to kind of get our foot in the door. Hey, this is what we do. You've actually employed someone that came through our program. How can we keep this going?
For sure.
So getting in that way, and providing them, kind of scratching that itch of, hey, we need people, give them to us.
Well, yeah, and a great point. And do you guys place in kind of all different types of industries?
Yeah.
So my point is, if as employers are listening to this, we want them to connect with you guys.
Right.
And it's not just you guys fill in one specific industry. It sounds like you work with all of them, or as many as you can. And I know youth is a big one as well, but is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're not just tied down to one. We place people, it's really wherever they can use their gifts and talents
Sure.
where they want to go.
Right.
Another thing too that we've been seeing more from the employer side, especially since the pandemic.
There it is. Yeah.
Is how to retain their staff.
Right.
So you can hire somebody, however, how do we keep them around? How do we build strong teams?
For sure.
And so we've been working on a workshop curriculum of how to strengthen the teams. How can you make leaders out of the people in your staff? Because we know that if you can trust the people you work with, if you feel valued with the people that you're with all the time, high performance teams, they're happier, they come to work excited. That's what everybody wants.
For sure. So how do you guys work with employers to do that? Do you reach out to them or do they reach out to you? Because I think most employers are going through that to a certain extent. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, reaching out to us or, when we have existing relationships, just sharing like, hey, this is something we're doing now. Yeah. Are you interested?
Gotcha.
But yeah, we've had a couple that reach out specifically like, hey, you guys seem to know what you're doing. Yeah. Could you help us?
Yeah. So if people want to get in touch, how can they reach out to you, or what is the easiest method to take the next step as an employer to get connected, or as a job seeker looking for a change, because you guys are handling both ends of it?
Yes. So with our Cultivating Careers program, you can sign up for that on our website. We start a new program for that in August. So on August 22nd is when we start. So if you're interested, projectiowa.org, click on the programs tab, and then it'll take you there and you can sign up.
Okay.
As an employer, we do have like a forum on our website where you can say who you are, what services you're looking for, or just, hey, can I connect with your staff, and we'll set up a time to meet and kind of talk through how we can partner.
Great. And you guys recently moved.
We did.
Talk to us about that.
Oh, we're so excited. We were virtual for 2 years, and it's weird because it didn't seem like that long. But it was a long time.
Went fast. Agreed.
Yeah. So we just moved into Franklin Junior High, so 4801 Franklin Avenue here in Des Moines. We're on the first floor, and we really just got our office put together. Like
awesome.
A week ago. Yes.
Yeah, very exciting. Yeah, virtual for 24 months is quite a long time. But you guys are in the new spot. You're in a perfect location as well. Great stuff. Anything else you want to add? I know we've covered quite a bit here. I mean, the main premise here is, again, another program in Central Iowa, in the state of Iowa, that's helping both job seekers and employers with their future.
Yes. I think, like I said, next Cultivating Careers starts August 22nd. Also, we moved and we have an open house on August 9th.
Very cool.
From 4:30 to 6:30 p.m., drop in. We want to see the community partners. You just want to poke your head in and see what we're about and meet us.
Right.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Great stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to Gabby Palacios, who is a program manager with Project Iowa. Wealth of information. Great stuff. You can find out more by going to projectiowa.org, and August 22nd is the next Cultivating Careers event. And I'm just on the website here one more time. You can head over to the
Programs tab.
Programs tab, and away you go.
Yep.
Great stuff. Thank you for making time.
Thanks for having me.